He's so obsessed.
Obsessed?
You can't find it within yourself to stand up and tell the truth about what happened. You don't deserve to wear that uniform.
He's a Starfleet captain, and he's decided to abandon everything this uniform stands for.
You betrayed everything that uniform stands for.
You betrayed your uniform!
Hey, it's Janelle Waz, and welcome back to another Star Trek video. Last week, I talked about the DS9 episode For the Uniform, and there was some interesting discussion in the comments section about how Sisko handled the situation. But the most shocking part of my video was that Eddington used to look like this back in the 80s.
Unlike you, Captain, I know when to walk away.
Hey, listen here, you little lying son of a... what was I talking about again?
I've chosen well.
So have I.
Damn.
But I did get a couple of suggestions for a video about how the other Star Trek captains would have handled Eddington's betrayal in the same vein as some of my other recent videos. Now, I do recommend that you check out my video about For the Uniform first, but just to recap, Commander Eddington was stationed on DS9 as Chief of Starfleet Security because Starfleet didn't trust Odo, the station's Chief of Security, who nearly quit after that. And then as it turns out that over the 18 months he was on the station, Eddington was working for the Maquis and had been leaking information to them, as well as giving Starfleet false information before finally giving Starfleet the middle finger.
Have you ever reminded Starfleet Command that they stationed Eddington here because they didn't trust me?
No.
Please do.
It took a very angry Sisko 8 months to finally catch Eddington, who started going around poisoning Cardassian planet atmospheres. So he poisoned one of theirs.
Do you realize what you've done?
I've only just begun.
Now, as far as I recall, Sisko is the only main Star Trek captain who had someone betray him so directly. But the other captains have had a couple of similar experiences, so we can piece together how they would have responded in Sisko's place. So join me as I answer how the other Star Trek captains would have handled the betrayal and treason of one Michael Eddington.
And for what? To satisfy a personal vendetta?
You betrayed your uniform!
And you're betraying yours, right now!
But before I go further, thanks for checking out my video. Make sure you like and subscribe for more of my Star Trek, video game, and other miscellaneous content. Keep those hailing frequencies open on the other social media sites, and a big thank you to my channel members for supporting the channel. If you'd like to buy me a cup of tea and support my work, consider joining up on my channel. Be great to have you aboard. Captain Kirk can be a bit of an enigma. On the one hand, he tends to go by the Starfleet rulebook, especially with how his ship is run. But at the same time, he's not afraid to bend the rules when necessary if lives are at stake. He wants his orders to be followed and is quick to deal with insubordination, but he's not entirely unapproachable either. And those he's closest to would go to the ends of the galaxy for him. That being said, movie Kirk does change things up a little bit. In the movies, he's definitely willing to break the rules altogether. He did go against orders in order to save Spock's life. But his loyalties ultimately lie with the Federation, even to the point of risking court-martial and imprisonment by the institution he serves. Not to mention nearly getting stuck in the 80s to pick up a couple of humpback whales so they could talk to a probe to stop destroying Earth. Star Trek 4 was wild, man.
They like you very much, but they are not the hell your whales.
I suppose they've told you that, huh?
The hell they did.
Heck, in Star Trek 6, he was instrumental in bringing down a treasonous conspiracy to prevent a Klingon Federation peace treaty, even in spite of his own justifiable misgivings about the Klingons.
I can never forgive them for the death of my boy.
He's not without emotions, but he knows where his duty lies. So suffice to say that Kirk would probably take Eddington's betrayal personally in Sisko's position. He probably would have gotten to know the guy at that point, plus he betrayed Starfleet. But would he have gone on a full-blown hunt to bring him in? Yep, and one needn't look further than the episode Obsession. Kirk Captain Ahab's his way through a vendetta he has on an evil cloud. Huh, he has something in common with Chief O'Brien.
O'Brien has been deemed their last hope. Bloody hell!
The Cloud once killed 200 of his former shipmates, including his mentor, when he was a young officer, so Kirk was hell-bent on destroying the damn thing, even at the risk of missing a rendezvous to pick up vaccines for a colony that really needed them.
Sir, we have noted in your recent behavior certain items which on the surface seem unusual.
Of course, the Cloud isn't a person, and it didn't work under Kirk for 18 months, though it was proven to be intelligent. Nevertheless, if something were to piss off Kirk enough, like, let's say Eddington committing treason, I think he would be willing to bend a few rules to go after him. And Kirk, being a master tactician, would probably have laid a clever trap for a careless Eddington to fall into and be brought to justice. Besides, there's no way Kirk was going to allow direct shirtless competition to stand. There can only be one!
So you managed to get your shirt off.
Now, in some ways, Picard's personality and the way he runs his ship is evidence that he wouldn't pursue Eddington like Sisko did. Compared to Sisko, who would invite his crew over for home-cooked meals, which apparently included Eddington,
I saw him almost every day. Read his reports. Had him to dinner.
Picard always kept a respectable distance from even his senior officers. With the exception of Beverly, but they already knew each other. Heck, that poker game at the end of the show, that took 7 years! Because that technically wasn't him.
Well played, Counselor.
Because of Picard's more reserved nature, I don't think he would have been close enough to Eddington to feel the personal betrayal that Sisko did. Granted, it wasn't like Sisko and Eddington were bros, but they knew each other on a low-tier social level and worked with each other daily. Picard might have known him on a professional level, but that would be about it. Probably the most social they would get is if Picard was sipping some tea when he walked in to hand in his report. Instead, I think Picard would have to feel betrayed on a principle level, which would cut as deep for Picard as it did for Sisko knowing the guy. Picard's first duty as a Starfleet officer is to the truth, and the lies and deceit that threatened the peace Picard worked to maintain with the Cardassians would certainly earn Eddington a very angry Picard speech. He'll see your Les Miserables references and raise you Shakespearean ones.
Well, Javert.
And if that means destroying your ship in the process, so be it.
It's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all.
But all that being said, the episode Preemptive Strike does see Picard in a very similar situation as Sisko. Only it's far more personal because Picard had taken Ensign Ro under his wing just for her to defect and join the Maquis. I have a lot of thoughts about that episode because holy crap, she should have never been assigned to that mission in the first place! But we do see Picard's reaction to Ro leaving her mission to join the Maquis. He's clearly livid about it, but if you notice, he doesn't do anything to stop her. Maybe it was guilt from keeping her on the mission after she expressed doubts. Maybe he knew it was pointless to go after her. But you can see he's deeply hurt on a level you don't normally see from him. She didn't intentionally mislead him like Eddington did to Sisko, so maybe that stayed his hand a little bit. But how do I think Picard would have handled Eddington's betrayal? Well, he's far less rash than Sisko, which is why he never laid a hand on Q when Sisko totally did. On the one hand, he might opt to let Eddington go and instead use his resources to counteract the information leaks, a much more level-headed route to minimize damage. I doubt Eddington's computer virus would have had much of an impact on the Enterprise like it did with the Defiant or DS9. I think Picard would have gotten on that pretty quickly. But with Worf in charge, hey, anything's possible. That being said, Picard does have it in him to go on a little revenge quest. I mean, look at First Contact.
You know, in some ways, you're even worse than the Borg.
Oh, honey, you don't know the half of it.
I will make them pay for what they've done.
But no, I think Picard would go more into damage control mode rather than revenge mode.
Have you can't find it within yourself to stand up, tell the truth? You don't deserve to wear that uniform.
Now, I do feel like Janeway is a little exaggerated in the fandom, making her more hardcore than she actually is. Sure, she has no problem punishing insubordination, and early in the show she has to, as the Maquis crew members are incorporated into Voyager's crew. But she's more of a protective mama bear, protecting her crew as well as getting to know them and be emotionally supportive rather than a straight-up hard-ass. Even with the crewmen who directly betray the crew, in other words, Sisko and Michael Jonas, she's more about damage control than vendetta. Nevertheless, the two-parter Equinox leaves no doubt in my mind that she would absolutely go after Eddington. Granted, Captain Ransom was a captain she admired and not someone who worked directly under her, but she was hell-bent on capturing a guy she only knew for a couple of days. Because it turned out he was using aliens to power his ship, and when she called him out on it, he captured Seven in the holodock and left Voyager to deal with the rightfully pissed-off aliens.
You're right, I am angry. I'm damned angry. He's a Starfleet captain, and he's decided to abandon everything this uniform stands for.
You betrayed your uniform!
Heck, Chakotay got in her way and she confined him to quarters, and he was just trying to stop her from acting like Captain Archer in the Xindi arc.
Your behavior is irrational. We could find another solution.
I've already confined my first officer to quarters. Would you like to join him?
So imagine if Ransom was an officer she saw daily and trusted, like Eddington was to Sisko. He wouldn't even need to goad her into coming after him. She would be like, damn right, this is personal. Now how about a little Borg nanoprobe, Scarecrow?
He'll break.
And like with the Equinox crew, once she captured Eddington, she'd probably strip him of rank and force him to clean the toilets on Voyager.
You're even worse than the Borg.
I beg your pardon.
And speaking of Captain Archer, the thing about him is that he's the nicest guy. Until you piss him off. Or put him under enough pressure for a long time in the Delphic Expanse.
You did the right thing.
Seems the longer we're out here, the more I have to keep saying that to myself.
Let's face it, Archer is capable of doing some shady shit. Just look at the Xindi arc. So could he do what Sisko did to bring Eddington in? Sure, he'd probably feel bad about it, but if he had to, he could. But under normal circumstances, would he? Well, out of all the Star Trek captains, Archer, in my opinion, was the most like a regular guy. Laid back, informal, but you still got a sense that he was a man of the future. It's one of the reasons why I like Enterprise so much. It's a nice bridge between our present and the future of Captain Kirk. Archer's a fairly approachable guy and tries to go out of his way to get to know his crew, not entirely unlike Sisko. Like the time he invited Malcolm over to breakfast.
Any sports you do follow?
Not particularly.
Granted, I'm long overdue for an Enterprise rewatch, but the closest I can think of where Archer felt betrayed by someone close to him was in the Season 4 two-parter Affliction and Divergence.
I'm not working for the Klingons.
You betrayed everything that uniform stands for.
After getting to know Malcolm over 4 years and even finding out what his favorite dessert is,
Pineapple. That's my favorite.
Archer discovers that he is involved in a Section 31 plot because something, they need to stabilize the Klingon Empire, so Malcolm had to lie to Archer the entire time to slow the ship down.
On that, you have my word.
Your word isn't worth a lot at the moment.
And you can tell how deeply hurt Archer is, maybe even more so than Sisko, because he was closer to Malcolm than Ben ever was to Eddington. However, unlike Eddington, Malcolm clearly doesn't want to do Section 31's bidding, and is clearly remorseful and loyal to Archer.
Please, sir!
If Malcolm didn't have that remorse, I'm sure Archer would have no problem locking him up and throwing away the key. Maybe even doing a little airlock time. Archer does feel things deeply, and while he might go on a chase for Eddington to bring a traitor to justice, I don't see him going to Sisko lengths like poisoning the atmosphere of an entire planet. Yes, he did do some crazy stuff in the Xindi arc, but that really doesn't apply here since Sisko wasn't under those dire circumstances when pursuing Eddington. I can see Archer maybe chase Eddington down and then have his crew come up with a clever way of apprehending him. Or sneak onto his ship and punch him. Faith of the heart.
You have no idea how much I'm restraining myself from knocking you on your ass.
And here are all the captains. I would argue that Picard probably wouldn't have gone after Eddington, while the other captains would have. Janeway probably would have gone the closest to what Sisko did, while Kirk and Archer would probably come up with clever solutions. But what do you all think? How would the other captains have handled Eddington's betrayal? Do you agree with my analysis, or do you think I'm missing something? And what other moral dilemma would you like to see the other captains handle? Please, leave comments below and discuss. As always, thanks for tuning in to another Star Trek video. If you like what you see, why not give my video a like and subscribe to my channel? Tell your friends! Until next time...
I've only just begun.